Welcome, the creators, the voice talent, Rick and Morty, and the producers. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Paul Fleischer over here. Let's hear it.
Fleischman.
Fleischman. Paul Fleischman. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so is this your first Comic-Con? I know it's not yours, but is it your guys' first Comic-Con?
Oh, no.
No.
How long have you guys been going?
My first Comic-Con was in 1992.
For real?
Oh, listen
Saw
to him
Bob
over
Kane
there.
introduced the Batman animated series.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Dom DeLuise was there.
There's a new Cannonball Run coming out.
Mine was, I think, 2006, I want to say.
That's great. I love that you guys remember the actual date. When
Yeah.
was your first Comic-Con?
Oh, geez. Well, I was working in comic books back in the day. I measure all time by 9/11. It was before 9/11. That's all I know. Like
Wow,
I
yeah.
it was
Pre 9/11.
It was the late 90s.
When are we going to
mid-90s.
talk to Bush and Cheney about, this whole 9/11? Can we
Saudi
talk about
Arabia,
that?
28 pages?
Yeah,
Is
that's
it
what
too early to talk about that?
We should make that the
Let's
crux
start
of
holding
this whole
people
interview.
accountable on the Rick and Morty interview.
But Rick and Morty, I think you meant, is this Rick and Morty's first Comic-Con? No, we've been doing it since the beginning.
Yeah, since the beginning of this show.
since we were in a
Before we
small-
aired, before we aired,
and
actually.
nobody knew who Justin was, and maybe like 20 people there to see Dan, and Justin was flop sweating as he was trying to explain what the show was. Like,
Yeah.
it's about a scientist. And it's like, oh, it's really good. It's
I
really
felt
good.
like I
All
was
looking
pitching
at
the
him like-
show, like you'd pitch a
Yeah.
show to an executive, but it was a room of sort of people waiting for the next panel, and just sort of sitting through.
And the only way to get them to recognize Justin was by having him do lemon grab. Do it.
Oh man, I don't even. I'll just. They're all the same. Like. There you go.
Did you read the
for you?
From
Did
Adventure
you read the
Time.
press after the first panel? Did you guys read the press after the first panel? Your first Comic-Con ever?
No, I never saw. Was it bad?
No, it was just interesting how people describe something they don't know anything about.
Oh yeah.
They're like,
no.
it's like Back to the Future, but like
Right.
really like.
No,
what's
it is
like,
weird. Like I remember it reminded me of we did press before Community aired, and all you're going on is like, oh, the NBC's doing a sitcom about this lawyer. He goes to community college, and people just made fun of it. They're like, didn't Seinfeld do this in his show? Like it's just not because it's just a pitch for a sitcom, and the pitch for Rick and Morty is just it's a scientist. Yeah,
It's
it's
Back
like,
to the Future, basically. That's what we were hearing a lot of.
Yeah, basically exactly the same creation. But the last season ended on kind of a very dark note. Can you give us any clues as to where we're gonna pick up?
No.
No.
But I will say that, we definitely ended on a dark note. I will confirm that.
I mean, he gets out of jail immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it's like cold open.
We got to do
out
the
of
show.
jail.
I mean, the show's Rick and Morty, so no
Yeah, you
spoilers. But
Yeah, no spoilers.
Spoiler
alert.
I mean, the season in general, without spoiling it, I will say it's very exciting. We're exploring characters that we haven't all the way explored yet, namely Beth and Summer. I think, especially on the Beth side, like I feel like Beth has always been. She's just been Rick's daughter, and this season we dig in a little more into that character. I think it's there's a lot of it's like people thought that the first season was like it was funny and had a little bit of darkness, and then the second season it was the dark season kind of like it was like, oh, we explore the consequences of Rick. On other people,
yes.
but we have to recategorize that because the third season gets really dark.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
What about the science fiction themes you guys are exploring? You've done Jurassic Park, you've done Mr. Meeksies, all of these like big ideas that you boil down into these little tidbits, but they're really large ideas. What sort of stuff are we going to be looking at in the new season?
I don't know. Like, we haven't done any Yankovicing really this season, and I mean
Well,
that lovingly.
that's what we call it.
We love him. we use the term
Yes.
because he's the king,
the master.
But right, like
Yeah, I think we kind of felt like even at our best moments doing that stuff where, oh, this is Inception meets this, that we were always going to be in the shadow of South Park, that they do two things really well, which is like pop cultural timeliness and or classic referencing plus very timely like social commentary. So every time we go to those places, we always end up thinking, we're going to just do a kind of second to South Park.
Or we'll go down a road of breaking a story and only to discover, oh, wait a minute, hold on. This episode of South Park did that.
Yeah, Simpsons did
And
it.
they've literally done an episode. I think we've talked about this before, at least amongst each other. They've done an episode about that. They've done everything. They're amazing.
Well, they've been around forever.
I know.
When you guys are breaking down big science fiction theories like multi-dimensions, it's breaking apart on the TV, you can see all the different universes. How deep do you go into that in the writer's room? Like, do you start really breaking it down? Or are you just
And
kind of like...
sometimes, yeah, there's certain stories where it gets really into the nitty gritty of the sci-fi and the sort of rules and anytime we with time in general it's like it's a spiral of just like, because I think just as human beings in general, our nature is like, we are living in these weird flesh husks and we're all gonna die, and it's just like you start thinking about that stuff even just in general, not trying to break a story, and it'll spiral you into a black hole, and then so you throw that on top. You throw that on top of trying to break a tight, Joseph Campbellian narrative, and it's like, yeah, it gets pretty crazy.
A friend of mine asked if we had a science consultant.
We should.
And I was like,
I know a guy. I'm not kidding.
No, oh yeah, that guy you told us
Dude,
about. This
guy. His name. Can I say his name? Yeah. His name's Tony Lund.
There we go.
He worked on Through the Wormhole. He was the resident genius.
Oh, yeah.
And Morgan Freeman, like he was every episode. It was like, Tony, he knows, he's like a human encyclopedia. I want you to meet this guy. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what like the Harmon and Tony, if it would be like
chemistry.
Or if it would just be like, I love you. But he's a genius, and like it'd be amazing to have someone like that, because we could go to him and go any question, and he's like he'll talk about it for an hour.
We should, because I think we're all smart guys, but none of us are college graduates. None of us
Wait, none of you graduated college?
Yeah. Nope. No. We all have maybe 4 years combined between us.
What we're interested in is what we learn,
and none of us have read a book in probably what?
Well,
You're still paging through that. It's been about
Nick Bostrom's Superintelligence. I've been reading it for a year and a half, 2 years
2008?
now.
Yeah.
I'm like 2 pages a day on a good week. you know? Sometimes I go weeks.
But Dan must have done a lot of science reading back in the day, because he's always busting out stuff that I'm like, this is like a science teacher.
Yeah.
So that's our main resource.
I read one book. It was Who's Afraid of Schrodinger's Cat, which is amazing. I really recommend that. It's this book full of all of the science stuff that intimidates people, particularly quantum physics, and it's 1 or 2 pages per topic. So it'll go, what is the Heisenberg principle, and it'll just explain it to you.
Awesome.
But you're also always using those like biology metaphors to explain stuff too.
I loved biology in high school.
Yeah.
I was a straight A biology student.
This guy kicks some mad biology facts.
I got 110 on my frog dissection, which the teacher was adamant about the fact that it's like, if you get 100, I'll let you go for the bonus question. It's a bonus question. It was like a Goodwill Hunting thing. Like no one ever gets it. And I got 100 on my frog dissection. And then he said, okay, here's the bonus question. Where's the periocardial cavity? And I pointed at the pericardial sac on the frog's heart, which it evolved into from the earthworm. And I got 110.
Wow, Jesus.
And then you're not just influenced by science, you're influenced by, what
there.
you grew up watching. You were there for it.
I was in the scene.
There's like Cronenberg references. Like, are there any cool like filmmakers or things you guys are going to play with this year that we can look forward to?
Oh, God dang,
for
man.
sure. I don't know how much we're allowed to talk about. we were handcuffed. We were shackled.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
fair.
we really are.
Let me,
we really
can I
truly
be vague?
Yeah.
We explore. It's not that. There's an episode where Rick gets himself into a metaphorical pickle, and basically, not that it's a Yankovic of Gravity or 127 Hours, but it's Rick's lone survivor episode story. So it's like, what happens if Rick gets really from his own actions, and he suffers the consequence of trying to make it through. So
It's kind of like
that's
the
all I'm
Breaking
gonna
Bad
say.
episode where the RV runs out of battery in the desert,
Stuck there.
when they have to like try to make potato batteries and stuff. It's like the focusing in on the meticulous minutia of a really particular jeopardy that Rick is in.
Yeah, speaking of Rick's, you actually see how his brain, a lot of times we go like, he goes, I'm going to make a floopy-doop quantum physer, cut to a floopy-doop quantum physer. We're like, we don't know how he made it. We actually see like he's in a situation with limited resources.
Yeah.
How would his genius get him out of that with limited,
We
resources?
kind of take you through it, the whole sort of process.
When did you guys actually know what Wubba Lubba Dub Dub meant? Because it ended up being a much different thing, obviously.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Like, I think
There was just Justin in the. We wrote a placeholder. There was an end of an episode where Rick ended a scene by. I think Ridley wrote.
Whoop,
that
whoop,
he-
whoop, whoop, whoop,
I wrote that he does the
Yeah.
curly.
And
whoop,
so
yeah.
Justin
Three
in
Stooges.
the VO booth just.
Well, no,
read
you
that.
changed it to the he starts doing the Arsenio thing. And
Well, no,
goes,
that's
whoop,
what
whoop, yeah.
that's what I did in the booth. I was like, because I think I just either did an outtake or I just didn't read what or I didn't comprehend.
Well,
what
I
was
wrote
reading.
it as Curly. Dan changed it to Arsenio. You somehow changed that to Wubba Lubba Dub Dub as the evolution.
But then it was it Ridley who
Yeah.
did a rewrite on the
party
the
episode.
finale
yeah,
of
yeah,
season
yeah.
Where
one.
Morty,
And
Bird Person is talking to Morty and he explains. He
Do
reveals
you know what
that,
Wubba Lubba
yeah,
Dub Dub
and that was
means?
just. I mean, what's more ironic than actually giving depth to this nonsense catchphrase?
Which
you
truly
know?
did come from just like dumb, just dumb, stupid booth shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like all fun, and they were like, oh, let's make this not fun.
That's
Let's
what
take
that's the heart of our show. Is Justin is the fun contractions, and then we fill it with no fun.
Mhm, yep.
So that pumps the fun around the audience.
Well, it's interesting because you would think that would have been something you guys had planned for a long time, but so much of this show is improvisational.
It's not. That's not even true.
improv.
It's more. It's actually really meticulously scripted and labored over in the best way possible. And then there's a little bit of improv, and then there's those like episodes like in Interdimensional Cable where we sort of we let the improv sort of be what it is, and we put it in Harmon. In the first time we did it, put a very nice frame around the improv so that the audience could enjoy it, and not feel alienated by it. But for the most part, the show is very like, Harmon's like hunkered down, and and Ridley and
Right.
all the Guterman, all the writers, really busting their ass to
If anything,
get the
improv
scripts as good as
spirit
they
comes
can
from
do.
like we'll break a story, and if we feel like it's not working, we'll just like on the fly, like whether it hurts us or not, it's just for the best. Like, well, okay, it feels like this should
Right.
actually be like this, and that means we have to rewrite half of it on the fly.
Yeah.
it's like
That's-
you gotta follow
that's-
the spirit of.
That's more to the point of what you're saying. Like
The spirit, yeah.
we don't sit there like week one of season 3 and plot out the whole season, and like we're very much kind of just like a shark going through the water. Like we don't have a plan. Like we're just making it up as we go from episode to episode. Which is I don't know. I mean, and that's why the Wubba Lub Dub Dub thing became, that was like something we didn't plan. That was just like a funny, like, what if we did that? Oh my God, we all got excited.
And then
So-
the themes emerge, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, this is kind of the energy of the season, the themes of the season, and then that maybe informs the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Well, as creators, do you now feel beholden to the fans to put the cable episode in the third season?
I don't think so. I mean, if it's fun to make. I mean, it's a fun episode to make. It's a different process. It gives the board teams sort of a rare opportunity to kind of just go crazy, for a bunch of those. Because I'll go in and just like, see, if we do it again, like you need to be in the booth, and Ridley, and season 2 it was a different process, but like, yeah, like it's just I'll be in there for 3, 4, 5 hours getting progressively drunker as I'm in there, and then we'll find maybe a good 10 minutes of material out of all of that, and then we just hand it off to we have a radio play, we just give it to the board artists, and they just kind of fill in the blanks, in a lot of those cases. And like Juan is somebody who he did the Two Brothers, and he did the Jan Michael Vincent one, and it's like, I didn't give him any. I just said, just make this just go nuts, and he thumbed it out. It was like incredible. I was like, this is okay. So Jan Michael Vincent had 86 backgrounds in that one sketch.
Really?
Original backgrounds.
Wow.
I mean, it killed the design team. They were just like, dude,
Or
this. Like, I mean, not really, but like,
Millions of
yeah,
Jan
it was
Michael
just
Vincents.
brutal.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, try to go easy on the amount of shots that you do. And to put that into perspective, an average episode is around, probably less than that, in terms of how many keys we do, background keys. And that one sketch had 80 something. Yeah.
Well, I guess my
nuts.
final question is there any new characters that you could share with us? And if you can't, that's fine. Just let me know.
Well, I'll just say there's a little guy named Noob that you might want to
if
pay
you
attention
liked
to.
Mr. Meeseeks and you loved Mr. Poopy Butthole,
You're going to love
Something
this
tells me.
Noob twist.
And if you like the same thing,
And the same voice.
Wait, I say, is it voiced by the same person?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Guilty as charged.
half of the characters, I can never remember which ones are ones that Justin actually named and which ones are us making fun of how Justin names characters, waiting for someone to
I
fill
feel like
in.
I did not name that character. I
Noob.
don't think I named.
I remember Noob Noob, which I don't know. Well, it's a tease to not say who he is or what he is, but he was in a story, and then he was out, and you were so bummed out, and then you're like, oh man, we lost Noob Noob. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Just, you know how stories work, man. You know, gotta kill some babies. And then I remember it was like, I ran into you like late at night, and I was like, Noob Noob's back, baby. Noob Noob's back.
I was
We
like,
figured
really?
out how to make it work.
Really? He's back and he's more integral than ever.
Well, thank you. I look forward to seeing and meeting Noob Noob.
Yeah,
next
yeah.
season. And thank you guys for your time here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.